Guess what? Story time. First up, got news. Okay, so I have not seen stray kitties in a while. Food's always getting eaten though, so keep putting out food. Haven't been chased by a skunk in a while. That's a good thing. That's really good news. So let's see. The latest cat escapade was this morning. So the boys have this toy, you know, the fishing line toy where you toss it and everything, and that is their favoriteest toy in the whole world. So I have to hide it when we're done playing, because if I don't, they chew it to bits. They'll chew the lure to bits. They'll chew the toy to bits. They destroy it. We've gone through quite a few toys. So I hide it. Well, Sirius, being the little shit that he is, decided this morning he was going to pull it down from way up high, and it dropped. So I went in and I picked it up, and I'm walking around the house trying to find a hidey hole before I go to work, and the boys are following me, and I couldn't find anywhere to hide it. Every door I opened, they would dart in, so I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. I couldn't put it in a closet, couldn't do nothing. So the toy went with me to work. And then when I brought it home, you know, I'm coming home, and Josephine and I are walking in the door, and I got to set everything down, and the toy got sat down, and then I went off to, you know, put my laptop on the docking station and all that nifty shit, and come back, and here are the two boys on that toy just tearing it up. So I finally got it away from them, and it is hidden one more time until later when I take it out to play for them. So, escapades. Guess what? We are out of Dr. Seuss, and I'm having so much fun reading, and I haven't read some of these books in a little while. So we're going to read tonight chapter book. We're graduating on up, dude. This is Goblin Proofing One's Chicken Coop and Other Practical Advice in our campaign against the Fairy Kingdom. It's written by Reginald Bakeley and foreword by Clint Marsh. Da, da, da. This one won't have a lot of pictures, so I'll have to entertain you with my own self. God forbid. I'm being stared at now and judged by a dog. What? What? She is seriously judging me too. The cat, Sirius is asleep in the chair. One of them is. The other one is, getting a hair tie underneath the chair. So, yeah. So let's read a little bit about what this book is about. Not only do we dare go hunting, but we declare open season on every last blighter of a fairy who would stand between us and our dreams for a peaceful life. Reginald Bakeley. No friend of the fairy kingdom, Reginald Bakeley, is accursed with second sight, the magical ability to see elves, pixies, and other inhabitants of the fantastical world. Instead of marveling with delight at harmless gnomes and their fellow nature spirits, headstrong Reginald embarks on a one-man rampage against the other realm. Goblin Proofing One's Chicken Coop is a complete manual on how you too can repel the harmful curses of the fairy kingdom. Aside from discovering the best defenses for the backyard chicken enthusiast, y'all might find some use for this, you'll learn about the vileness of the changeling eggs, scheming flower fairies, and how best to trap them, and the dangers of elf song. Proper methods of hunting and cooking gnomes. Chickens, yes. Goblins, no. So, you know what the book's about now, hey? This is gonna be such a delight. Let's see. Let me get to I'm not gonna read the contents, I'm sure. We'll get to that. Forward. Wait, no, I need a drink. Prost. It's almost like mother's milk there. Not quite, but you know. So, in each of our lives, there are people who change the way we look at the world around us so fundamentally that after we meet, we wonder how we ever got by without them. For me, no one has done this quite so boldly or with as much personal style as the man who has penned this book you are about to read. Do you want to have? Come here, miss. Josephine. Hey, beast. Say hi to your adoring audience. Oh, come here. There's my Josephine. There's my old lady. Yeah, my toughest old broad. She is a hound dog. Skunk chaser extraordinaire. I got stories about her I'll tell you later. I consider it an honor to present to you the pioneering work of the iconoclastic sportsman, gentleman farmer, and idiosyncratic clairvoyant, Reginald Bakeley. My guide, and now yours. Oh, see, I still can't turn pages. Ha ha! To the most fascinating and mysterious of other worlds, the fairy kingdom. My introduction to Mr. Bakeley came about not over the fireside brandies at the social club, nor was it in the early morning mist before setting out for, as Reginald would say, oh, got a cat. Yeah, he's not going to get on screen, I guess. He was sniffing. He was close. That would have been Remus, not serious. So, back where we were. Ba-da-ta-ta-ta-ta. Nor was it in the early morning mist before setting out for, as Reginald would say, a spot of gnoming, an activity you will learn about very soon. Instead, our first meeting was under more prosaic circumstances, and in the most unlikely of places, and 2 cats. Yeah. I think you caught it here. Hey, Beastie. And in the most unlikely of places, the folklore stacks of my hometown library in rural Iowa. A fervent. I can't talk. Scholar of fairy lore from a young age, I scoured any books I could find about fae. That golden kingdom just beyond our everyday reach, home to elves and goblins, trolls, and other representatives of the good people. Reginald's name was included in one book's footnote discussing modern-day writers who possessed the second sight, the seemingly magical ability to see and hear fairies. I was intrigued. So I copied his name into my notes. Guided by the scant few writings of Bakeley's I could find, along with the rare interviews he granted on his life and work, I began to piece together a picture of the decidedly odd Welshman. Go figure, he's a Welshman. The more I learned about him, the more fascinated I became. I was determined to meet Reginald. And following the slow and patchy correspondence, we did eventually get together during one of his visits to the United States. We met for sandwiches at a cafe in Berkeley, and Reginald ate and spoke with the same unbridled gusto which I would find he brought to everything in his life. 2 truths became clear to me almost immediately during the initial conversation. The first was that life among the fairies wasn't necessarily without its troubles. Reginald was a man who, unlike other writers on the subject, had no wish to go further into fae, but was determined to fight tooth and nail to get out. To him, there was nothing good about the good people. According to Reginald, the fairies the fairies of myth and folklore are not only real, but also, in fact, at the root of nearly every problem imaginable. Not that he was happy to let the matter rest at that. I was in the presence of a consummate clairvoyant who used his gift of second sight not only to see fairies, but to, well, you're about to find out how he uses it. The second truth was that Reginald was far too busy to include any new people in his life unless they benefited his work. Instead of risking losing our nascent friendship, I offered to help him distribute his writings in America. He agreed. We began publishing pamphlets of his practical fairy lore to a growing readership. Reginald's startling direct guidelines on the hows and whys of ridding the chicken coop of the migrating goblins, or of hunting the bothersome and delicious gnomes, became instant favorites of everyone I showed them to. So much so that we have long hoped to gather them, along with the other essays and stories, into a single volume. And now, here it is. Those of you already familiar with Reginald's work may consider this book a long-awaited expansion of his singular vision. If you're new to this most peculiar of fairy folklorists, then he and I both wish you welcome. For those in search of the way into the fairy kingdom, as I was so many years ago, nothing beats the direct approach. Step aside as Reginald Bakeley kicks down the door and ushers you in with a fanfare. Clint Marsh. Yeah, that's how it was fun. Yeah. Why Fairy Needs a Hunting Manifesto. Oh. Directions. Or maybe not. Yeah, we're reading. Up the airy mountain and down the rushy glen, we daren't go a-hunting for fear of little men. We folk, good folk, trooping all together, green jacket, red cap, and white owl's feather. By William Allingham. A pretty bit of doggerel, that poem, and more devious than it first appears. Daren't go hunting? Indeed! If we follow the advice of Mr. Allingham and other weak constitutioned fairy sympathizers, then the whole of the outdoors will soon be snatched away from mankind, its rightful master. Pretty pretentious little fuck, isn't he? I mean, just listen to this shit. I love this book, though. It's awesome. Whilst this cowardly little verse is right in the characterizing fairies as dangerous, a properly equipped and educated person is one able to move through life free from such fear and trepidation. I've made it my life's work to show how this may be done. And thankfully, not all authors and anthropologists on the subject of Fae share Allingham's pessimistic attitude. But among those unafraid of the Fae, by which I mean the fairy kingdom, and all of its inhabitants, from the most minuscule flower fairy to the most towering troll, many go a bit too far, stripping away all the Fae's instinctual wickedness, presenting them as non-threatening storybook characters. This error, sadly, is as deadly as it is common. By treating the topic of the Fae too lightly, these chroniclers may unwittingly lead innocent people straight into the hands of mankind's greatest oppressor. The Fae are not gentle creatures, but malevolent meddlers. Oh, say that fast. I mean, I've only had about half my drink. That'll just screw you up to no end. Each of them in its own way. If they are to be sugar-coated, let it be after they are first bagged and roasted. How could you eat a gnome? I don't know. There are other snares as well. Most writers on Fae make the mistake of distancing their stories from the lives of their readers. Their tales are prone to be placed in a long ago setting, a century or more into the past. Or they may be accounts from far off places, somewhere so exotic we might believe anything could be possible. This is misleading in the extreme, for as you will learn, the Fae are not a relic of history. They truly are everywhere, from the brownie mucking up the kitchen in one's London flat to the flying horrors of the haunting Scottish Highlands. They generally keep out of sight, but under the cover of darkness, or when our backs are turned, they do everything in their power to upset the tranquility of day-to-day life. Another misguided concept, spread mainly through popular legend, is that fairies are a vanishing facet of nature, and mankind should elevate them and respect them to a debilitating degree. Take gnomes, for examples. Mindless readers of the propaganda which passes for folklore today have been brainwashed into believing that gnomes are benign spirits of the forest. They're natural, these hapless scholars tell us. This argument never fails to send a shudder through my frame. There goes that 12-year-old brain. As an inveterate outdoorsman, I believe myself eminently qualified to declare what is and what is not natural. Trees are natural. Streams are natural. Sparrows and hedgehogs and trout are natural. What is not natural is some little twerp of a red-capped mannequin traipsing about, wagging his beard and spouting rhymes, intent on harming people who'd simply like to enjoy a walk out of doors. Finally, there are the most hopeless of the lot. Those who claim fairies don't exist at all. Oh, there is a picture. Turn it that way. Ha ha, there we go. They believe all of life's calamities can be chalked up to one's own clumsiness or simply ill luck. This, my friends, is exactly what the fairies would like us to think. Whether or not one believes in them, fairies do exist. The proof lies in the mountains of the first-hand evidence I've gathered regarding the habits and predilections of every species of fae known to man. Not a single one of them have I found to be completely free of malice. And what? Jeez Louise. Yeah, this will help. It always does. Okay. And whilst some fairies, under the right circumstances, can be surprisingly useful to us, and others can be downright scrumptious, on the whole, they are entirely without merit, and many of them are positively bent on making our lives miserable. It makes no difference to me whether this or that fairy is designated as a member of the benefit of the good Seelie court, or its dark underside, the unseelie counterpart. I do not make distinctions based on the personal allegiances of individual fairies. All are suspect. Anyone who has spent more than 2 moments in my presence knows that I am not merely one to sit around and complain about this or that injustice. When I see something that needs to be done, I snap to attention and do it. Yeah. It is time we shone a lantern on the fairies, exposing them to the meddlers, exposing them as the meddlers they are. It is time we took steps towards restoring order in our world. Anyone who would defend the fairy kingdom as harmless or meek. Start that one over. Anyone who would defend the fairy kingdom as harmless or meek is at best misinformed and at worst an enemy. My intention has been to contribute to the discussion in on the Fae, a book which is instructive. Too many books are full folklore and anecdote, but fall flat when it comes to helping readers apply such information to everyday life. This is the first thoroughly practical book, compiled not from second and third hand sources, but rather from the collected wisdom of a lifetime with the accursed second sight. One of the few comforts of this affliction affords me is that I might share with you the methods and techniques to employ in our mutual campaign against the conspiring of the fairy kingdom. I have arranged this book into 2 sections. The first is written to help you in noticing fairy activity in and around your home. The second section is meant to prepare you for the possibility of the fairy assault during your excursions into the countryside. In addition to the practical articles in each section, I have included a few recollections of my own fairy encounters. These are meant to serve as illustration and to remind us that even in the utmost of preparation and foreknowledge is sometimes not enough to prevent mishap at the hands of the Fae. It is an unfortunate truth, and not one so dire that we should give up our resistance. I believe strongly that with sufficient knowledge of fairies and their habits, along with this and that everyday household object, even the blindest of the fairy seers will possess everything needed to confront these dreadful creatures head on. I don't pretend to have laid down an all-inclusive system. For any of the pastimes I write about in this collection: hunting, farming, and marriage. Yeah. But hope merely to bridge a long neglected gap. My desire is that, the goblin proofing one's chicken coop, you will be set on the path to achieving your goals in all these areas and more. The notion that we need fear the fairy kingdom and its inhabitants is absurd. It is time instead that they feared us. Rawr. Not only do we dare go hunting, but we declare open season on every last blackguard of a fairy who would stand between us and our dreams of a peaceful life. Therefore, in unlocking the miniature treasure chest practical wisdom contained within this book, I present to you my own ditty, a bit of a battle cry. It's a counterblast against Alahim's craven verse. Perhaps it will inspire you and come to serve as a source of strength in your own noble struggle against the fairy kingdom. Open up each window, through wide every door. Announce to all the fairies we're slaves to them no more. Brownies, pixies, goblins, and elves. Hear our cry, begone at once. You shan't disturb our homes. Ascending craggy hillsides, strolling country lane. No fairy makes us tremble, come dark and wind and rain. Your schemes will come to nothing, your plots will go nowhere. Our wits are sharp, our senses keen, we're loaded for a bugbear. Yours sincerely, Reginald Bakeley. Okay, that's it for tonight. But we got a whole lot more. Look at it. Look at all the pages. Ha ha